Awareness is vast, reality is fluid, and what we call the paranormal may just be part of the human experience. We move through life searching for certainty, but every so often something happens that challenges what we think we know. A flicker of movement in an empty room, an intuition too strong to ignore, or a moment that lingers long after it's passed. Some call it supernatural, others call it psychological, but maybe it's both. I'm Mallorie, a therapist exploring the threshold between psychology, the supernatural, and the transformations that happen in between. Whether it's unexplained phenomena, personal awakenings, or the ways our subconscious and the unknown intertwine. This is a space to wonder, to question, and to explore what these experiences mean for us. Because what matters most isn't what we experience, it's how it transforms us. Welcome to the Liminal Mind. The earth has shifted. October's liminality, crisp, electric, charged with thinning veils, has softened. The bright flames of Samhain, Halloween, and late autumn festivals have burned down into something gentler. What remains now isn't fire, but embers. Embers are the soul of November. Quiet, steady, radiant, but inwardly. They don't dance wildly like flames. They glow from the inside out. And psychologically, this is the time when our internal worlds begin to do the same. In early autumn, we descend, shedding, confronting shadow, meeting what has been buried. But in late autumn, something else happens. We integrate. Integration is not dramatic. It's not revelation or a breakthrough. It's the moment the psyche begins to metabolize what has happened, the way that the digestive system turns nutrients into energy. In November, emotions settle. The inner world reorganizes itself, and we begin to understand what the year has meant. And the emotional language of this season is gratitude. Not the kind forced by social pressures, but the kind that rises spontaneously. Gratitude for having lived, for having learned, for surviving, for belonging to something larger than ourselves. Our families, our ancestors, our stories, even our spiritual lineage. Embers are proof that transformation leaves something behind. They are the warmth that remains. As the embers of the year glow beneath the ash, we begin to sense the shift inside ourselves. That pull toward reflection, toward meaning, toward understanding what all of this has meant. And that's where gratitude enters the story. Not as performance or a list, but as the quiet alchemy the psyche naturally reaches for when it begins to integrate. Gratitude is one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern culture. We talk about it like it's simple. Make a list, say thank you, be positive. But gratitude is a complex neuropsychological process, an alchemical transformation of memory and emotion. Gratitude activates multiple regions in the brain. The medial prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for empathy, reflection, and meaning, and the anterior cingulate, which processes relational warmth. This network lights up even when gratitude is imagined, written, or felt privately. A study from USC found that participants recalling gratitude showed measurable increases in neural integration, meaning their brains began linking emotional, cognitive, and relational experiences into coherent meaning. Another study from UC San Diego found that gratitude improves heart rate variability, a marker of nervous system flexibility and emotional regulation. In short, gratitude integrates us. It helps the mind take fragmented experiences and weave them into a narrative that makes sense. It doesn't erase pain, it rescues it from meaninglessness. As Viktor Frankl wrote, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. Gratitude is the meaning maker. And in November, the psyche naturally shifts into this mode. Slow reflection, gentle insight, and emotional coherence. But as powerful as gratitude is, its fullness can only be understood when we acknowledge its shadow. Because the same way fire can burn or warm, gratitude can heal or harm, depending on how it's wielded. So before we deepen into the practice, we have to name what gets in the way. Gratitude has a shadow, especially in a culture that demands positivity at all times. Too often, people are told, you should be grateful, focus on the good. Someone else has it worse. This isn't gratitude, it's emotional bypassing. Psychologist Susan David warns that forced gratitude disconnects us from our authenticity. It becomes a pressure to perform rather than a practice of integration. And in November, performative gratitude is everywhere. Curated lists, staged photos, 30 days of gratitude challenges, obligations to smile through family dysfunction, pressure to pretend things are okay, and expectations to be cheerful and gracious. None of this is inherently wrong, but it often leaves people feeling lonely, not connected, because real gratitude is not curated, it's felt. It arises from presence, not performance. Real gratitude makes space for grief, for longing, for stories that are complicated, families that aren't perfect, for ancestors who suffered, and for histories that are painful. Gratitude that ignores the shadow is not gratitude, it's denial. And nowhere is this shadow more visible, more complex, or more culturally charged than during November, a month when many of us gather to reflect, share meals, and to honor traditions. A month when gratitude is expected, but not always grounded in truth. To understand this season fully, we have to widen the lens to history, to culture, and to the stories that shape collective memory. We can't talk about gratitude in November without acknowledging Thanksgiving and the truth behind it. The story that many of us were taught about a peaceful collaboration between colonists and indigenous people is a myth carefully crafted in the 1800s to promote national unity. The reality is that colonization brought genocide, enslavement, displacement, broken treaties, cultural erasure, land theft, forced assimilation, intergenerational trauma. For many Native communities, Thanksgiving is a national day of mourning. To speak of gratitude without acknowledging this truth would be spiritually, culturally, and ethically irresponsible. But acknowledging truth is not about shame. It's about relational integrity. Gratitude grows best in honesty. Research by Rachel Yehuda has shown that trauma can alter gene expression for multiple generations. The trauma of colonization is not historical, it's cellular. And yet, Indigenous communities also inherit profound resilience, wisdom, cultural strength, and ancestral gratitude. Gratitude is not an erasure of trauma. It's a way of honoring the survival, knowledge, and endurance of the Indigenous peoples. An ethical, conscious gratitude practice at Thanksgiving involves acknowledging the history, uplifting Indigenous voices, supporting Native creators, organizations, and causes, honoring the land that we live on, learning stories told by Indigenous educators and historians, and practicing gratitude that includes truth, not avoidance. Gratitude becomes ethical when it is relational. And when we look honestly at history, at both harm and resilience, something powerful emerges. We begin to sense the presence of those who came before us, their endurance, their stories, and their unspoken hopes. This is where gratitude deepens beyond the personal, into something ancient, relational, and intergenerational. This is the doorway into the ancestral mind. There is a deeper layer to gratitude, one that reaches far beyond our individual lives. And this is the realm of the ancestral mind. The ancestral mind is the part of us that is shaped by lineage memory, generational emotion, inherited trauma, inherited resilience, cultural stories, spiritual continuity, and the presence of those who came before us. We are not blank slates. We are living archives. Epigenetic research shows that trauma, war, famine, displacement, oppression, parental stress, resilience, coping patterns, and attachment responses can all be passed down from generation to generation. This means that grief and gratitude are both ancestral. When you feel gratitude, you may be feeling something your ancestors felt, something that helped them survive, love, hope, and endure. Family systems therapy teaches that unprocessed emotional patterns repeat through generations until someone becomes aware enough to integrate them. Integration, or gratitude, can interrupt the cycle. It says, I honor what you endured. I release what was passed to me in pain, and I carry forward what was passed to me in strength. Across cultures, African, Indigenous, Hindu, Celtic, Asian, Latin American, ancestral presence is considered normal, not paranormal. Anthropologists like Jack Hunter write that ancestral contact, including dreams, whispers, symbols, synchronicities, smells, sensations, or messages, is a universal human experience. People feel their ancestors around them when they're at turning points in their lives, when they're grieving, when they're becoming parents, when they're making life decisions, healing, or practicing rituals. And the emotional response to ancestral contact, almost always gratitude. Gratitude becomes belonging. It becomes identity, and gratitude becomes healing. Paranormal researchers who have studied after-death communication, mediumship, dream visitation, or synchronicity consistently report the same outcome. Gratitude is the dominant emotional effect. People describe a sense of being loved, guided, a sense that the veil is thin, that death is not disappearance, and a sense of relationships that continue. These experiences don't replace grief. They integrate it. They help the psyche reconcile loss with continuity. Gratitude becomes the emotional language of interdimensional connection. I want to share something personal here, something that shaped how I understand this kind of connection. A few days after my grandmother passed away, I found myself standing in her bedroom, and I was holding a small digital camera that still had pictures of us on it. I started scrolling through the photos, and suddenly the reality of her absence hit me in a way it hadn't yet. It was like the grief rose up from the center of my body. My vision blurred, my hands shook, and I felt myself unraveling. And in that moment, that raw, aching space, I was just a girl who had lost her grandmother. I wasn't someone who understands psychology or spiritual theory. I was just her granddaughter, missing her. And then I heard it, as clear as if she were standing right next to me. I'm still here, kiddo. That's it. Simple, warm, exactly the tone and phrase that she used. The air in the room shifted. My whole body softened. The tears didn't stop, but the fear did. And the emotion that washed over me wasn't shock. It wasn't confusion. It was gratitude. Gratitude that love doesn't vanish when a body does. Gratitude that presence can cross the thresholds we don't fully understand. And gratitude for what that moment integrated inside me. That our relationship had changed form, but it didn't end. I share this not to convince anyone of what's real, but because so many people have moments like this, and they doubt themselves. They think it's imagination or wishful thinking or grief playing tricks. But sometimes the most profound messages come exactly when we're undone. Sometimes connection comes through when we're cracked open enough to feel it, and the gratitude that follows becomes part of our healing. These moments, whether subtle or unmistakable, soften the psyche. They remind us that connection is not limited to physical presence, and they prepare us for the next layer of this episode, the way that gratitude settles into the body and becomes something that we can feel. These moments of connection, whether spiritual, symbolic, or subconscious, soften something in us. They invite the body to relax, to open, and to return to safety, because gratitude isn't just a cognitive concept. It's a full body experience. To understand it fully, we need to shift from the mind into the body. Gratitude is not an idea, it's an embodied state. Somatic signs of gratitude could include feeling warmth in your chest, softening of your jaw, tears that flow, deep, grounding breaths, and feeling grounded or present. These reactions activate the ventral vagus nerve, signaling emotional safety and connection. When we practice gratitude, especially relational gratitude, the body remembers belonging. The body remembers lineage, and the body remembers love. And once the body remembers gratitude, the heart begins to unfold. This is when reflection becomes possible, not from pressure, but from presence. So I want to offer you a few questions, not as tasks, but as invitations. What has softened you this autumn? What lessons emerged from your descent? Who, living, past, or ancestral, has shaped your becoming this year? What grief transformed when you offered it gratitude? And what ember of truth continues to glow inside you? This is the season of embers, where we don't seek new fire, but honor what still glows. Integration is quiet, gratitude is gentle, ancestral belonging is subtle, but together they transform us. If this episode resonated, share your reflections with me on Instagram, the Liminal Mind Podcast. And if you'd like a companion journal and ancestral gratitude guide, you can join me in the Liminal Library on Patreon. Until next time, may your embers glow steady, may your ancestors walk gently beside you, and may gratitude be the bridge that carries you through the dark seasons. This is the Liminal Mind, where transformation is the threshold we walk together.